What are you sharing, Chitraji, today?
Yeah, just as usual, I took that All India magazine, no? And those 2002 edition, actually, it is. And I read that you heard of that Margaret Woodrow Wilson, no? She was a devotee of Sri Aurobindo. No,
Mhm.
actually, she was the daughter of the president of America, Margaret Woodrow Wilson. Yeah, she wrote a letter to Sri Aurobindo. I read it long back, but that time, okay, oh, she's also that appreciation and that it was there for me. But now when I read this letter, no, I feel more resonating with that letter actually, really. It is totally. I will read that letter first because the reply of Shervindo is very long. We can read some little concepts actually. I will read that letter first. Uh, Correspondence of Margaret Woodrow Wilson with Sri Aurobindo. Miss Margaret Woodrow Wilson, daughter of the wartime American president, was very deeply spiritually inspired by reading Sri Aurobindo's essays on Gita in the New York Public Library during 1932. She wrote a letter to Sri Aurobindo on 3rd March 1936, praying for his guidance in her sadhana and inquiring if she could be allowed to come to ashram to stay as his disciple. She was permitted to join the ashram in 1938. Sri Aurobindo gave her the name Nishtha, one pointed fixed concentration on a single game, that meaning of the Nishtha. She died in 1948 after an illness. We reproduce below Miss Margaret's letter of 3/3/1936 to Sri Aurobindo and Sri Aurobindo's letter of 7/9/1936 to her. Sri Aurobindo had made some omissions before allowing its publication. This is the letter. Your dear Sri Aurobindo, she wrote, your essays on the Gita have been a source of help and inspiration to me ever since the summer of 1932 when first I discovered them. Now I am writing to you to ask you humbly for direct help and inspiration. I know no one in this country to whom I can confidently turn because I know of no one who has had illumination or even a measure of realization. Whenever I am tempted to join this or that school or center of truth or even the Ramakrishna Center, I draw back in fear that the rules and disciplines will be binding on my life and restricting to the self without conducing to its liberation. Now I have temporarily in my possession the little famlet about your ashram, and I am daring to hope that you will suggest to me the disciplines that I can freely impose on myself. You note that word, no? The first time she said that restriction, now she felt it is freely imposed on myself. In order to be liberated, first by the consciousness of the self in me and in all beings, and finally, when the Lord in my heart wills it, to experience that lost union with Him, the transcendent Purushottam. I know that before this will be possible, the path will be long and difficult. But I want to enter into it and go as straight and quickly as possible to the goal, not stopping on the way for the enjoyment of any psychic riches and power. But I do want along the way to be a conscious instrument for divine works. I am conscious now of a terrible emptiness, that every word and act of mine is useless because not motivated from within by the self. And I am convinced that I shall never again come under the illusion that the little self can be useful, except it be guided and activated by the higher self. And so I am like a lost sailor LOST, who has left a familiar shore but does not know the way to shore he is seeking because he has no compass. I have heard that when the pupil is ready, the master is there. I do not know whether or not I am ready or whether I am capable of following your directions, but I hope with all my heart that I am telling you the truth when I say that the strongest desire of my heart is to reach the only goal worth striving for, the consciousness of union with the highest. And so I implore you, dear Master, to show me the way, and I shall try to follow it without fear, because I know that you are only the representative of my own higher consciousness, of which I am not yet aware. If my longing for realization is not as deep and sincere as I think it is, please make it deeper. Even though it makes me suffer, I never want to lose it. I am told that you have disciples who do not live in your ashram. Do you take disciples in America? If at any time you should bid me to leave all and come to our ashram, I shall do so. God helping me, I shall humbly await your answer. With heartfelt thanks for all you have already done for me. Sincerely yours, Margaret Woodrow Wilson. This letter actually really deeply touched me when I read that.
Beautiful. It's really
Hmm.
so beautiful.
How she is very humble, and how she is telling no that that last thing, no, if my longing for realization is not as deep and sincere. Yeah, this I feel everyone's prayer. I feel like that when I read this letter. His reply was quite long, actually, Shilbindu's reply. We will take it in another satsang because
Acha.
you make it. But
Yeah. Yeah, Sri Aurobindo's response was
mm,
very, very detailed and
yeah,
very to the point.
yeah,
And he also guided that how other
mm,
organizations are there who are in
mm,
touch with the ashram. But
mm,
two important things I should say about Nishtha is she actually came in 1938,
mm,
November.
yeah,
And she was supposed to have the darshan on that 24th of November, the
mm.
very day when Sri Aurobindo broke his leg.
Oh, okay.
And the darshan was cancelled. So just imagine somebody who in those days who crossed the Atlantic or Pacific for whichever route, who came such a long journey, and she was supposed to meet darshan. So she was supposed to have the darshan of Sri Aurobindo, and it got cancelled because it got cancelled on that very day. It happened
Oh,
on the 23rd night or 24th early morning, and morning the darshan got cancelled. So she was expectant, and then after a few days, if you see the evening talks,
mm,
then somebody said that she was here and she also expected,
mm,
but the darshan got cancelled, and Sri Aurobindo said yes, but she took it in right attitude,
okay.
quite contrary to many of the people here. So
Mm,
that is the first thing. Second is here, of course, if you read the life of Nishta, she grew up in, not grew up, but she was president's daughter, and she spent quite a long time in White House, and she was used to non-vegetarian food. And that time, absolutely, of course, even now, ashram food was very, very vegetarian.
yeah.
And I think,
Mm,
of course, she started taking and for a very long time, and then mother said, you don't have to take because your body is not attuned to vegetarian food, you will not get nutrition. But I think she did not relent it, and she continued to take.
okay.
Then during the World War,
Mm,
there was, I mean, the American embassy and others said you should go back to America. It's not safe here, especially Chennai. There was a bombing in Chennai from the Japanese.
mm,
So- and Calcutta. So they said that it's not safe, you go back. But she said, I will go nowhere.
mm.
I will not leave Pondicherry and I will go anywhere. And ultimately, she passed away in 1948.
But that's why maybe in this letter also she mentioned, no, it should be very quick for me, but I want to enter into and go as straight and quickly as possible to the goal. No?
Right.
Yeah. She's very sincere, this letter. I felt like that. Very sincere, no? Yeah. The way for the enjoyment of any psychic. Oh, so when she came, she couldn't have the darshan of Sri Aurobindo. Okay.
Or just imagine on the very day. I mean, we
Yeah.
are coming from India on the very day because she crossed the ocean, and that day itself, darshan was scheduled, and it got cancelled. And but she took it in right attitude, and that's Sri Aurobindo praised in Evening Toss. He said, but she took it in right attitude, quite contrary to many of the people who have been staying here.
Yeah, really.
I mean, just imagine the disappointment.
Yeah.
You have traveled so far,
Mm.
and just to have the darshan of Sri Aurobindo, and then he is unable to meet.
I think it's also very obvious from the letter itself,
Mm.
how evolved she already is, writing such a letter. That
Yes, I think this is in 1936. She was anyway seeking 1932, I think. Then
Okay.
she read that essays on Gita. I
Yeah.
think essays on
Yeah.
Gita.
1932. Yeah.
And she had lost the sense of time when she went to New York, that New York State Library, when she was reading. I have read that the caretaker, he came and he said it's the time to close the library, and she said, I mean, she had no sense of time. And then she asked when tomorrow it will open, and she came and started again reading it.
Beautiful. Really. And also that she mentioned about that rules and strict rules and regulations about Ramakrishna Mission. No? Recently, also I heard about it actually from one of my sister's colleague. No, she wanted to pursue the path. She went to Ramakrishna Mission, and she could not adhere to the strict rules.
mm, mm,
Recently, also because maybe as she mentioned, her soul maybe, I mean, free, she wants that freedom to pursue. She is spiritual, but she wants to. Then she asked the address of Sri Aurobindo ashram. I don't know further whether she continued there or, but that feeling was there for Nishtha also, no, that.
mm,
Yeah, and see, mission, especially in those days and even now, it's a monastic order.
Yeah.
The person who was in New York that time, his name was Nikhilananda. He translated the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna in English,
Okay.
and Nishtha knew him pretty well.
No.
And if I think Nikhilananda was one of the direct disciples of Swami Vivekananda, or one
Okay.
down of the Ramakrishna Dev, he was there. He is a great personality. He wrote many beautiful books, especially for the Western world. Many
Okay.
of the English works of Sri Ramakrishna Vivekananda, what we read, were done by him.
Okay.
And he was in New York for a very long time. She knew him very well. But that time, and even now, it's a monastic order.
Yeah.
And even though she was quite monastic, and but in she used to smoke. Even in Pondicherry, she used to smoke, and she used to buy cosmetics with her. What do you say? The allowance that she used to get. I mean, she used to give money, mother, and balance she used to buy cosmetics. So probably she felt that mission is not the right place for her. Sri
Yeah.
Aurobindo has praised her
Some. Yeah.
here.
Sure.
I think it's the mother also, Shiorama and mother. I think when they talk about education of the vital, mental, and there also they say that one has to do it in alignment with one's
Yeah.
swabha, right? It should not be a forced or a pressured orientation.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it disfigures the alignment within.
Yeah. Correct.
It's very right, and even see, and that is the thing. Even in old monastic order, if you go and just seek initiation or diksha, they will not give you diksha just like that.
Correct.
Why? Because they always knew. It's more like psychology. Even if you read the letters to of Sri Aurobindo to Nishtha in details, and to many of the Western people, you will see that Sri Aurobindo and mother, were very practical people. They paid attention to the psychology, they paid attention to practical view. To Nishtha, Sri Aurobindo discouraged because he said that you have never stayed in a tropical country. Said you have always stayed in a very cold climate, and you cannot stay in hot climate. So Pondicherry will be very difficult for you. So often these to choose or not to choose, especially when it came to place, it was a very very practical consideration more than anything else. Like to somebody, he said that you have too many friends, you cannot do that if you stay in ashram. So it will be very difficult for you. And same for these monastic orders. They will not give diksha or initiation to anyone, and if they give, they knew that it will be I mean, then it's not right.
Yeah.
That's why they used to say it's not right, because they will dilute it. You give the knowledge or you try somebody in the ashram who is not ready for the ashram, it will be a problem for that person, and it will be a problem for you also. It's
Correct.
like teacher and student, it will be a problem for you. And so many things, as Monica ji said, that it has to be as per the swabhav. Even if you read about the Ramakrishna Dev and his disciple, his path, if in Synthesis of Yoga, Sri Aurobindo said that as many religions are there, as many paths. And Ramakrishna Dev also said the same thing. And Sri Aurobindo, to that extent, he said that as many people, someday, Vivekananda said, one day you will see as many people are there, so many religions. What he meant
Yeah.
is so many paths are there. To
Yeah.
each person, it's a different path.
Yeah.
Correct. Correct.
And
Yeah.
slowly, this concept of ashram, slowly a separate place, is changing. It is no longer necessary, because at some point of time, it was an economic necessity to stay together. Slowly, it is not no longer required. Like if we were, suppose how what we are doing right now, satsang, you might be somewhere else.
Yeah.
Monica ji is in Gurgaon right now. I am in Calcutta. It would have been impossible for us to speak, but we can see each other and we can speak. We can interact. It would not have been possible even 50 years back.
Yes.
So a
Correct.
necessity was there for like an ashram or a community kind of thing. We are still part of a larger community,
Yeah.
but not staying at the same
Correct.
place.
Yeah. That feeling is also nowadays going, no? You have to go there and stay there and pursue the path. Now, now we are seeing it, no? After this pandemic, no?
So because
Everywhere. Um,
it is very true, but it is, I mean, the very, if you read this is in All India magazine, but if you see Sri Aurobindo's autobiographical notes, his answers were very, very pointed. See, we only read from letters on yoga. Or if you see, they used to ask him specific questions and he used to give specific answers. To Shahanadi, he said somewhere, and spoke about this. He said that everybody need not come to ashram. And why? Because we don't have this space, and that is not the necessity. Secondly, then he said, but this ashram has been created, and there is a purpose to it. People who will benefit by staying here, like Nishta said very clearly, right? I want to reach the goal. There are many people who does not have a goal. When I initially I did not have any goal. Even now, I don't think I have a very specific goal. For me, I like Mother Shri Aurobindo. I like them. I do not have had any understanding or love or goal ahead of me. I had this liking. And so similarly for many people. And then Sri Aurobindo is saying you don't need to stay here because you do not have a specific goal. So to complete, he was telling Shanadi that this ashram is created with a specific goal, and people who want to get benefit out of it by to reach their psychic being, to achieve that, they will get benefit from our presence or by staying here directly. Also, in course of time, all this happened in 1930-40. Then Mother brought supramental manifestation in 1956. 1969, something had happened. 1st of January, then mother said a beautiful energy came down on the earth, and it is helping any person who is seeking any. It's a beautiful energy. It has a lot of goodwill. It helps in this world anybody who wants to be sincere, who wants to seek. It is helping them. So they more and more broad based. They more and more globalize the thing.
And also it is there is a lot of freedom outwardly, but really if you want to pursue the path seriously, know that you yourself will know whether you are fit for this or not. You yourself will feel that, no, that feeling will come actually automatically. They are doing that actually, though they are not physically there, but that thing you can feel inside, really, truly. Whether, as you said, mine is also not, I don't know anything about yoga and all. When I first came to know, I mean, I don't know. Mother only came to me actually. So I don't know anything about yoga for a long time. I just like to pray to mother. Only through prayers it developed like that. Slowly, 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 very long dim preparation. So though it seems like it's lot of freedom, but you will realize it in course of time. It is not very easy. More than any other path, all the paths should cooperate. No, all the surface level also should cooperate. No, here actually.
I think it's almost like with all these hit and trials in life,
Mm.
we are being just directed to the proper place for each one of us.
Yes.
So so-called failures are actually successes only because they are actually, it's like I use this example very often that imagine that I have to search for a temple
Mm.
and I am going in every street, and that one person is saying not here, the other person is saying not here. So it may come as a slap, on the face that यहाँ भी नहीं है, यहाँ भी नहीं है, but they are actually guiding me to the proper lane. The temple to be designed
Yeah.
is there. So it's just like that. I feel that each one of us, through several hit and trials, is ultimately, and that's why the certitude in mother's prayers and meditations that there is this divine victory shall be won. There is this certitude. It may just be a matter of time, and I think it is true for each individual, no matter how long it may take. We are just, being guided with all our failures and successes in the right direction.
Yeah. It's so to add to that, Monikadi, I will say, because you said the very right thing at the outset, that I'm searching for a temple.
Yeah,
Many people doesn't know. Sorry.
yeah,
Yeah. Many people doesn't know what they are searching for.
exactly, exactly. Even they
And
are being guided.
yeah, yeah. So exactly, that is also true. Like Ramakrishna Dev said very clearly that he gave this example. He said if somebody wants to find out, he will find out whether it's a short path or a long path. And he said, suppose from Calcutta you want to go to Puri, the Jagannath Dham from Calcutta, and you don't know the path. What will happen? You will go to a wrong way, but you will ask somebody. He may know, he may not know. If he knows, he will put you to the right path. If he does not know, he will mislead you. But after some time, you will find the right path.
Exactly.
But it is very important that you have the what you said at the very outset, that I want to go to temple.
Mm.
And I have known people in the United States. I had a friend, and she said they had went to there, and she said that we were very, we were feeling disbalanced, disoriented, and we wanted to go to temple. And I searched in my area where is the closest temple. When they searched the temple, the first thing came up was that Sri Aurobindo Center, Los Angeles. And they said that we were, of course, happy, and we went there.
I think one thing that you shared, that many people don't even know that they are searching for temple. And there, I think it's furthermore mystery, because we think that we don't know where we are headed, yet the guiding principle inside is actually guiding and just leading us towards those exact things where we need to
Yeah.
exact those people who would hit at the right place, or slap at the right place, so that ultimately, we are all settled in our temples
Yeah.
sooner.
Correct.
So it's very when mother met Shuravindo, she had asked two questions. That is in 1914 when she first met him. She had asked two questions. So one question was that she had asked, as we all know, mother was a great painter. She was a great artist. She was a painter. She was a musician as well, and she could write well. If we read her that essay, Path of Later On, she was hardly 14 and 15, I think 13 or 14. How beautifully she has written. And she to ask Sri Aurobindo that I had many faculties. I could have taken any profession. And she was truly a great artist, truly great artist, masterclass. But I could have chosen any of this profession, and I could have made a name there, but I did not. And then why it is so? And then Sri Aurobindo said it was not supposed to be. If you would have lived a life of a great artist, I mean, I'm sure there are great impressionist artists who were mother's friends or teachers or seniors, but she did not live that life. He said it was not supposed to be. It happens with us also. If we look back, there are many cases which we would have or something. It is not supposed to be. Otherwise, it would have happened.
Correct.
There was a line in Savitri, I'm forgetting, Monica ji, if you recall, that pain is the sculpture, no? Pain is the sculpture. Basically, pain is the sculptor who sculpts our being.
Mm.
Yeah. Correct.
Maybe Chitraji would remember. Chitraji, do you have
Yeah.
any page is that?
Yeah. That line I recollect now. But as you said, pain is the sculptor to
Through which,
chisel
yes,
man,
Yeah,
yes, yes. Through with divine chisels man or something.
to
yes.
chisel man out.
Let me see.
Must be in Book of Fate or
I think the way of fate and problem of fate.
yeah, yeah, that you get.
Yeah, yeah. This
Mm.
444.
444, yeah. Okay.
Pain is the hand of nature,
Yeah.
sculpturing men to greatness,
Mm.
and inspired labor chisels with heavenly cruelty and unwilling mold.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is really
Unwilling mold.
unwilling mold.
Unwilling mood. Yeah.
So true of us, each one of us.
This that last line which you said, no, Chitradi in Nishta's letter, that the discipline which I will willingly
Yeah.
impose upon myself. So
Yeah.
there were many great, like Shahana Priti was one of the great singers who went to Pondicherry and she stayed, and then not only she, many others. And outside people used to think that how Sri Aurobindo is keeping them in ashram. I mean, they were great worldly people, but they're staying there. And they said, it is not that he is keeping us. We are here. We are here out of his love, out of our love for him, or we are here to, because we are getting something which we cannot anywhere else. That you willingly impose upon
Yeah.
yourself.
I think that can be only done if love is present, as you said.
Yeah.
Yes, it is true. I mean, if you read the life of any great person
Yeah.
in any field, be it even actors, and I speak very practically. If you read the life of, let's say, very, very simple, Nasiruddin Shah Ompuri, if you see, they have stayed in slums just to see that how these people are behaving. These are yogic qualities. They might not be yogi, but these are yogic qualities. If you see a proper athlete, the discipline they impose upon themselves for food, for exercise to excel, cricketers, footballers, cyclists, they will measure the food that they're eating. They will measure everything. These are all yogic qualities. Even for people who are excel in studies, they do like that. Whenever you have to excel in any field, and nobody has told them to do this. Of course, somebody has told them, but the thing is, ultimately, the choice is theirs.
Yeah.
Like chess players and others, they do it out of their own luck. They willingly impose upon themselves. There is a beautiful line by Mother. I'm paraphrasing, but she said, "Divine Mother, give me love, that love in which one forgets oneself."
Yeah, correct.
And that is even modern psychologists are saying that the best thing comes out when you're self-forgetful. Even Mother is saying the artist, the best thing comes out with its self-forgetful. And she said, if an actor, if he remembers who he is, he cannot perform.
Correct.
In Hollywood, some actor, he played a role so well that Brad Pitt, he was playing some accent, and for some time, even after the film was over, his accent got changed. He was so identified with the role.
Yes.
Correct.
I think it's taken to, for example, experiences in life where even now, just like we are on this path, and many a times there are such intense experiences in life, emotional, upheavals, where there is a total, almost loss of, your anchoring within, or whatever you may call, it is remembering who you truly are. And I
Correct.
think it's even those experiences where you are not able to truly be who you truly are, remember who you truly are. I think those experiences, if I look at my own experiences, where I have been pulled into an emotional kind of a thing, after the upheaval is over, the quality of richness it gives, the depth it gives to the life, that is not possible when you are, always
Yeah,
stationed in the being and, so-called aware of yourself. So
correct.
even those, as Mother says, that the divine makes failures into successes. So I think I see it like that even losing yourself in these moments of intense pain, suffering, or ecstasy, or whatever, and then once you come out of it, then you see, oh my God, like what a journey, and then you look
Yeah,
deeply in the details of what the
correct.
experience gave you. Yeah.
From this reply, I will read some important lines actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, from this Sri Aurobindo's reply to Margaret Wilson actually. The first necessity is the practice of concentration of your consciousness within yourself. The ordinary human mind has an activity on the surface which veils the real self. But there is another, a hidden consciousness within behind the surface one, in which we can become aware of the real self and of a larger, deeper truth of nature, can realize the self and liberate and transform the nature. To quiet the surface mind and begin to live within is the object of this concentration. Of this true consciousness, other than the superficial, there are two main centers. One in the heart, on the not the physical heart, but the cardiac center in the middle of the chest. One in the head. The concentration in the heart opens within, and by following this inward opening and going deep, one becomes aware of the soul or psychic being, the divine element in the individual. This being, unveiled, begins to come forward to govern the nature, to turn it and all its movements towards the truth, towards the divine, and to call down into it all that is above. It brings the consciousness of the presence, the dedication of the being to the highest, and invites the descent into our nature of a greater force and consciousness which is waiting above us. To concentrate in the heart center with the offering of oneself to the divine, and the aspiration for this inward opening and for the presence in the heart is the first way. And if it can be done, the natural beginning, it is a natural beginning. For its result, once obtained, makes the spiritual path far more easy and safe than if one begins the other way. And about this, no, that concentration in the heart. Actually, recently I attended one session from Share the Society. How to bring the psychic being, emergence of psychic being. There, you heard about Arul? From Arul?
Yeah.
Yeah. Arul Dev, yeah. What he did, no, he asked us to concentrate inside the heart. He directly asked us to go inside the cave of the heart, into that cave actually, and watch and also concentrate above the head, both, and watch our natural breath. And after watching for some minutes, some seconds, of course, that time according to the time, from that you chant either Om or Ma.
Mm.
That way he asked us to concentrate like that. But actually, it came easily for me
Mm.
inside the go. You also always used to mention no about that awareness, total awareness, and total peace, like that sea and the blue sky,
Mhm.
everything. Yeah, like that only. He told us actually to concentrate inside the heart, go inside and sit inside that cave. Somebody wrote in the message also, they can see the two persons, outside person, inside one is sitting in the inside the heart.
Mm.
That experience somebody had.
Yeah.
Nice it was actually. They insisted upon. So from the beginning, Shervindo and mother is insisting upon that only. No, inside the heart is the first thing. No?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
It's like yeah. And the Dr. Sahani, no, he insisted upon from near to far. Very nice, he told actually.
Mhm.
Always you keep your smile and always be, I mean, silent to the outer circumstances with strength and also bring the sweetness in your life. So 4 years, he told. From surface level to you go inside.
I think these things are would work for people who have maybe been on this path for some
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
But people who are, for those of us who are still in, uh, really in the stories,
Hmm.
in me and my story, this sweetness will just work as a superficial ointment because it does not come naturally. So one,
That's why he told, yeah, it's very tough in the beginning,
yeah,
but again and again you have to do the practice. No other way. You have to bring it into practice actually.
I feel, Chitraji, I feel that one has to, become slowly aware of uh, the daily, day-to-day activities. That yes, thoughts come and go, stories come and go, feelings come and go, sense perceptions come and go. But I don't come and go. I am here, watching all the things happening. And slowly, slowly, when this experience almost concretizes in the being, which can take a long time, the sweetness cannot come because the seeking self is almost anti-sweetness. The me and my story and ego, it cannot handle sweetness. So even if I'm trying to practice sweetness in life from the seeking self, from my story, it will be just a hypocrisy and nothing else.
Yeah.
That's what I felt from the self, that it is only serving as under. To imagine that under it's boiling, right? Me and my story is boiling, and on the surface I am applying this ointment of sweetness.
Even I thought like that actually.
Yeah,
But when the circumstances are, I mean, favorable,
yeah,
at least that time we can practice that sweetness. But as you told, when we face the crisis or that person is not sync with us, when we face that, we will definitely lose that sweetness.
yeah.
That losing, no, that will linger for a long time again. No,
Mm,
that
mm.
if you lose it also, that guilty thing, no, that will linger for a long time in a, oh, we have failed miserably again.
And also this
So,
sweetness, I think this sweetness is not an outer thing. It's almost the metaphor again of the blue sky and the dark clouds, right? So I think that blue sky, ever present sky of aware presence, the qualities it has is gratitude, sweetness,
mm,
happiness for no reason,
yeah.
peace, stillness. That cloud, if even if that cloud tries to be sweet, it will just be a cloud. It's not the continuous state. Yeah, I yeah, I feel these
No,
kind.
no. What you said is very true. And Sri Aurobindo said, I read somewhere that this sweetness and softness comes from the psychic.
Yeah,
And if we are not living there, if we are not living there, it is what you said, that it will be like a cloak. It will not be genuine.
yeah,
And once we have that, and that is all this ego or this thing is at surface. I mean, not only surface, man. We are identified it. If you read the
yes,
response which Chitradi said, that because we live at surface consciousness, that
yeah,
does not let us see the reality.
totally.
Once we see the reality, we feel we are much calmer.
Yeah.
Okay, today why we don't have sweetness? Because we are upset.
Mm.
Why we are upset? Because we feel something is happening that is not right. If we know what is right, or rather if we can see, and it is, I will not say a general statement that everything that happens is right or good, but what I mean to say is, if we understand that if everything that is happening is okay, that was how it was supposed to be, then we become calm,
Yeah.
then we become sweet. Oh, this is happening,
Correct.
this person is like, Huta is, or not only Huta, many other people had bad moods and they were misbehaving with mother. Can you imagine? And then when somebody is saying, mother, she misbehaved with you, mother said, my little child, you don't know how much she is suffering herself.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, correct.
A person who is misbehaving with me at somewhere, if we know how much pain that person himself is going through, if we are aware, then we will not feel bad for ourselves, we will feel bad for that person.
Yeah.
But we are not aware because we are identified. See, because it is, that's why it said that ignorance creates the division.
Yes.
This is also a form of knowledge, right? That when you go to a psychiatric doctor or this kind of people, they are very patient. Why? Because they know the science of the people whom they are handling, and they will be very, oh, this person has this specific disease or problem because of which he is behaving. They will not take it personally. They are used to it. And why they are used to it? Because they have the knowledge behind that.
Like that, yeah.
If we also had the knowledge individual, and slowly that comes, if we also had the knowledge, we will not feel the same way how we are feeling now. That is the path. We should not, like Sri Aurobindo said somewhere, and I also believe it is not only that he said that the experience has no value if it has not transformed you. The Shobha Mitra asked mother, she came to ashram when she was 14 or 13, I forgot. Then she was 24, that is 10 years. And then she asked mother, am I receptive to you? Then mother said, are you the same person who you were when you came here? And she said, no, I have improved. She said, that means you are receptive to me. Shravendra is saying that psychic is in any one of us. Like I always say that we are here on a certain time and date and not doing anything. The psychic in us wants to be good. All the higher elements, people who wants to do well, good, not ambitious, from the nicer qualities that they want to imbibe. Those movements in the being comes from psychic. And whenever we want to come towards the psychic, we are open to the higher forces, divine forces. To the extent mother said, no, people who are aspiring for perfection anywhere in this world is under my guidance.
And also, no, actually, when because of circumstances, because of any person, we fail, and truly and sincerely, when we surrender that to Divine Mother, actually, I experienced that. And slowly, very slowly, the circumstances begin to change, actually. Yeah, it is there, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. It is not, always it is unfavorable. No, we can't say that. Slowly, very slowly, according to your sincerity and aspiration and call to Divine Mother, yeah, without our expectation also, the circumstances is yielding. The trouble from another person or from ourselves. Yeah.
So
Yes.
trouble
So that
from
time maybe we can follow that sweetness. That experiences, and if we when you are aloof, lonely, if you try to practice all those qualities, that means slowly, even if you are with the persons with midst of any situation, definitely that will help you to again follow the same thing, actually. It is there. So he gave it as an outward, thing. Only that whenever he can, summarize that, no? Actually, but this is, as you said, when we are in the path and with lot of experiences in the life, we can touch that sweetness. We can realize that sweetness is psychic, and
Yeah.
we can try. I'm telling, even now I'm trying. Yeah, that's all.
I think this. I'm sure these practicing of these outward qualities also must have some benefit. I'm sure,
Mm.
but imagine that. Just for example, Ramana Maharishi talks about that. The activity of the mind
Mm.
clouds your true
Mm.
nature. So when I am now engaging in another activity of the mind,
Mm.
which is say so-called practicing quality of this and that, on the surface it will appear that I'm promoting myself towards goodness, right? But I think it will be on a very very superficial surface. It will not be truly coming out of my being. And
Mm.
what I need to touch within myself is actually reducing the quality activity of the mind so that it touches the source, and there at the source lies all the good qualities that we are kind of striving towards. So it feels to me more and more that I don't have to indulge in more activities of the mind.
Mm. Mm.
I have
Mm.
to kind of turn the mind inwards towards its source, so that all the good qualities now begin to kind of blossom by themselves like a side effect. Yeah.
Correct. And for that, your thing, no, you used to tell, no, you meet the thought. That
Yeah.
I practiced for 2 or 3 times. It really has effect.
Mm.
You meet the thought. Don't go into the stories.
Mm.
That I made it as a mantra now, actually. Don't go to that stories of the thought, but just you see the thought is coming like a wave,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
like a cloud. It is coming, you
Mm.
meet the thought, just you be with that, and then slowly, I don't know how to explain that, so that i mean those stories are not there now.
They
Only that, yeah.
almost sublimate, they go
Yeah,
away,
yeah.
disappear like smoke.
Mm. Then maybe that duration of that feeling, no, that
Mm.
it goes actually
Yes.
long. Yeah, that is the thing. It's very beautiful, but Mother and Sri Aurobindo's teachings and their
Mm.
really it is very beautiful for the humanity, whole humanity.
Yeah.
True love, harmony, and peace. They only can brought, actually, if the humanity is ready.
Yeah.
this Savitri has a line again. Once again, I'm exactly forgetting. Our
Mm.
outer happenings have seeds within.
Yeah,
Mm.
correct, correct. Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong in writing, but
Correct. Yeah,
basically
yeah,
it's
it's there. It's there. Seeds within, yeah. Okay.
if possible, always try to read this the chapter on rebirth in Life Divine. It is very beautifully Sri Aurobindo has explained the concept of rebirth, the purpose of soul, why we come to the body, and at times some of the very important questions have been resolved. Also, there's books. There's Kishore Gandhi's that Problems of Life or something. I'm forgetting the name of the book. And he has chosen from Life Divine or other writings and put there. Like many times we say, right, that he's a good person, but he is facing so much obstacles in life, or he is facing failure in life. And then Sri Aurobindo said that at times the psychic being chooses these difficulties rather than a comfortable life, because
Yeah.
they feel the feels this life of difficulty will keep them sharp, keep their aspirations sharp rather than having a comfortable and successful life. And many other questions what we have faced, what happens in our life are answered there.
It's almost like if one begins to uh, feel the benefits of pain in life, I think one would not be able to pray that take the pain away. You know, it's
No,
always like,
utility,
yeah,
utility. I would say,
yeah,
not the benefit. Yeah, utility. But no, what you said is very true. You know, right? This after this Mahabharat, after the Kurukshetra war was over, then Sri Krishna said that okay, so I will go back to my city to this Pandavas and all that. And so he asked each one of them that you ask something. And each one of them, according to their nature, asked one boon. And Kunti said that I want always troubles to be with me. And Sri Krishna said, what is that? He said, because when you are trouble, you are with me.
yeah.
That's why. When you are trouble, I remember you and you are with me. I don't want the trouble to get over.
But in one of the talks, I noticed actually Alokdas talks. I think he used to go to US and all give talks. No, one of the talks, one of the person asked Alokda. Everyone is telling the pain and suffering is the easiest way to go through this path, but for me, till today, there is no struggle. That person asked, Alokda said, "No, don't take it as a rule. Pain must be there, suffering must be there, because it is a sunlight path. It is very good. You can really go well and progress well." That answer is also there, no? Actually,
Yes.
it is a sunlight path. I really enjoyed that talk.
Mm.
Nobody used
Yeah.
to tell like that, no? It's very rare. There is no pain, no suffering. So everyone.
No, because some people are based in psychic, and I have seen some of them, a couple of them. If you see ever in life, even in spite of different difficulties, they never complain. And they don't, not that they are not complaining out of politeness, they don't feel like there is anything bad in their life. They feel grateful. Inherently, they feel grateful or they feel fine, and they do not complain or they don't feel okay. If you say, oh, there's so much of difficulty, yeah, but there are other people who have more difficulties than me.
Even if you sit and count our difficulties and our positive side of life also, difficulties will be very less, but
Mm.
we won't feel like that, no?
Mm.
We should always feel that gratitude towards life, actually, what it is giving. But we will always elaborate the difficulties only. It is human nature.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think more than human nature, it would be nature of the ego.
Yeah, correct.
Not to look at the blessings, but always at what is missing, what is lacking.
Mm, correct. We are living only in the ego, no?
Mostly, yes. So then that's why we forget to count the blessings.
Yeah, correct.
It's like psychology. They will say that we remember the adverse events more than the normal or the good events. It's
Correct.
very, if you see you have gone somewhere, a city is shaped by
Mm.
the how people were rude to you or something. But there were many other people who were neutral to you, were kind to you, but you
That
don't remember that.
that won't be noticed. Yeah.
Yeah. I've heard that this place people are very rude, and maybe then I asked how many times. Oh, I was there 3 months and something happened once or twice. But there are other nights, 80 days or 85 days you were there and nothing happened.
I think
Correct.
it could also be because then it adds to me and my story, then as we were talking, that the separate self or the ego, it would just want to add on that who did bad to me and who, so that my story can get aggrandized, and that's
Mm.
the way how I keep on going and going and going.
Yeah.
But if I begin to notice all the good things, then there would be hardly anything left to me and my story. So how can I go there?
Divine looks like that only, actually. Even if we go and complain to divine, I mean, that person is doing nothing good like, to me and all, immediately the answer you will receive actually. Somewhere you will receive from any book, and divine doesn't, I mean, from there it won't look like that, no, actually.
So let's, I think, call it a day then. Almost 4. If not anything to share, if we have.
Yeah, we will see this replay piece by piece when next.
Yes, I'll
Yeah,
also have a look and then we can go over it again. The
yeah,
reply.
yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Nice. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Beautiful session.